And ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, thank you so much for having me. I'm very pleased to be with you today at the Australia AI Leadership Summit, although I do wish I could be there with you in person. As we navigate the complexities of the digital age, the significance of artificial intelligence in shaping our collective future cannot be overstated. That's why, again, it's my great pleasure to be with all of you today, coming from the World Economic Forum, where I headed the AI data and Metaverse work. Over the past few months and years, we definitely find ourselves at a pivotal moment in history, where the narrative of human progress is increasingly shaped by algorithms and networks that are defining the futures of our existence. The rise of artificial intelligence is not merely a technological revolution. It represents a profound shift, as Melinda just mentioned as well, bringing both unprecedented possibilities, but also challenges. Since last November, when ChatGPT was launched into the consumer market, the world all of a sudden sees a new possibility. The advancements that AI is making are moving it from being a vision or a concept towards something much more integrated, pervasive, and tangible in our infrastructure, industries, and systems today. As our world keeps merging between physical and digital realms, consider it as the plumbing upon which many interactions will take place. In industry, AI is having an impact in both existing business processes and the creation of new products and services. The promise of enhanced work experiences, augmented innovation and creativity, and the lowered operating costs is opening a flurry of implementation and investments. We see it in everything from consumer goods research, development, marketing, to healthcare diagnostics and patient delivery. Industrial operations are also harnessing its use for optimized operations. Across the enterprise, AI is augmenting and upending workflow processes within IT, customer services, and more. In sum, we could expect full value chains to undergo transformation in the years to come. What this means for consumers and customers is a new world of AI-augmented products and services, hailing new forms of interaction and an intertwined relationship with technology at a level that's not seen before. A world that is constantly streamed through, analyzed by, and filtered through model technology begs many questions. What is the impending impact on our relationships with each other and our institutions? How does AI shape the pillars of trust, safety, and privacy that we hope are inherent in our world today? And it cannot be forgotten that with this breadth of impact, the impact on social systems of health, finance, education, and sustainability are widely dispersed in the world. Concentrations of innovation and development in the global north risk setting adoption and benefit gaps with the global south further apart. Consequently, AI governance and associated infrastructure implications have been elevated to the levels of national agendas. However, AI governance is a complex issue and will need to be tackled by public and private sectors together. With AI especially, proximity to industry and technology makers is imperative to realistic and applicable solutions. Recent global efforts, including the UK's AI Safety Summit, President Biden's executive order on safe, secure, and trustworthy artificial intelligence, and the European Union's incoming AI Act, the G7 Code of Conduct under the Hiroshima AI process, and the United Nations High-Level Advisory Body on Artificial Intelligence underscore our collective acknowledgement of the urgent need for action. Additionally, the World Economic Forum recently hosted our own AI Governance Summit, serving as a testament to our commitment to translating intent into tangible, impactful actions. Yet, as we know, declarations, while necessary, are not sufficient. The real work lies in the action that follows. And it is with that intent that we at the World Economic Forum launched the AI Governance Alliance back in June. The intent of the alliance is not only to bring stakeholders together, but to further a mutual commitment to take action on some of the most pressing issues in AI governance. That includes finding a shared way forward on frontier guardrails to safeguard more proliferant AI systems, as well as advancing knowledge at the frontier of applied generative AI across all sectors and industries. Driven by its members, the goal of the alliance is to devise, co-create, and help a broad range of decision makers enact more adaptive and resilient forms of AI governance, and that at a time when it's sorely needed. In our pursuit of responsible AI, continuous dialogue is crucial. The dynamic natures of the AI field demands that our strategies and guidelines evolve consistently. This ongoing communication among stakeholders ensure our collective approach remains adaptable and responsive to the emerging challenges and opportunities. And with that, I would like to thank you again and hope that our collective journey into the realms of artificial intelligence can be marked by wisdom, compassion, and a steadfast commitment to the betterment of humanity. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Cathy. So I'm rapidly taking notes as you were speaking, and there's a lot in your opening comments for us to sort of delve into a little bit more. There've been a lot of forums, a lot of gatherings, a lot of advisory bodies pulled together. I'm interested in perhaps learning a little bit more about how you see the World Economic Forum contributing to that private-public collaboration in a way that's going to shape the future of AI, and in particularly, you spoke about adaptive governance. So what is the role of the World Economic Forum in enabling that adaptive response to AI?
Thanks, Melinda. Indeed, as you mentioned, the forum takes a leading role in fostering public-private collaboration in not only artificial intelligence, but other technology as well. That is the Center for the Fourth Industrial Revolution, which I co-head of, focuses on. And really, acknowledging the need for practical initiatives, our commitment is quite evident through the establishment of the AI Governance Alliance. We launched the Alliance in June this year. It serves as a collaborative platform for a diverse community of over 190 organizations and 230 individuals, comprising industry, academia, civil society, and government stakeholders. And beyond the symbolic unity, AI Governance Alliance, in short, AIGA, is committed to collectively addressing the pressing issues in AI advancement and governance. And particularly with the three tracks that we have, we focus on establishing shared guardrails for responsible AI adoption, let it be small or large size of model, closed or open source. We build upon the collaborative procedural recommendations that we released this last spring. The AI Governance Alliance truly aims to leverage the collective wisdom to strengthen consensus on international collaboration, industry accountability, and also technical guardrails. And also, as I mentioned earlier, recently we concluded our AI Governance Alliance Summit in San Francisco in November. The insights gathered there have become truly instrumental in shaping the global discussions on AI governance. The primary objective was to translate the commitments made at the summit into tangible actions on the world stage, which will be a focal point at our upcoming annual meeting in January. So to sum up, really, truly, through the initiatives like the AI Governance Alliance, the forum is actively influencing the trajectory of AI and technology. It emphasizes not only international collaboration, but also the establishment of ethical standards to navigate the challenges presented by the rapid technological advancements. And this kind of effort really underscores a shared commitment to a responsible, inclusive, and forward-looking AI ecosystem.
Thanks, Cathy. I'm going to try to capture some of the questions that are coming through from the audience. I might try to pull together a few. I think one of the questions that's sort of emerging is how do we think about the benefits, like when we're thinking about governance and the ethical approach to the use of AI, how do we think about the costs and the benefits that sit within the AI opportunity? And so the one that's come through in the question is around the real human impact of AI in terms of potential job displacement and that sort of transition job displacement relative to the sort of broader opportunities that it provides, say, for customers and business. So how does your forum, the World Economic Forum, kind of lean into those conversations?
Yeah. So particularly on jobs, if you take a look at how technology has evolved during the past decades, old jobs, indeed, some of them are taken away, but new jobs are also being replaced as well. And that's why the forum, for example, we've been focusing on a lot of the work, a lot of the initiatives involving jobs. When it comes to jobs, it's about reskilling, upskilling, and basically trying to find more meaningful roles and jobs for human being overall. Because I do think there's a balance to strike, and even with AI, we are increasingly looking at what kind of tasks within each of the roles that we're taking on in the professional setting. What kind of tasks that will be impacted versus roles, because those are the kind of areas where we probably need to look at how do we reskill some of the skill sets that we have and think about the tasks that could be automated and how do we redefine some of the roles as well. But overall, there's always been, in the history of technology advancement, there's always been a tension, but at the same time, a balance always needs to be found to really achieve the goal of stimulating innovation, but also at the same time protecting our livelihood, the society overall as well. So I would say there's no easy answer, but at the same time, the fact that many of the working population find a lot of the jobs or roles or tasks are not as meaningful. Therefore, it's actually many would find some of the tasks being automated overall results in better results, which is not something that's negative overall.
Thanks for that. I think the top-rated question that's come through was one on my mind as well, which is there's so much going on, there's so many moving parts in the global sort of standards and regulatory landscape in terms of AI. I think one of the things that business is really grappling with is the regulatory burden, and particularly if you're operating in different jurisdictions. And I think there's that challenge around consistency and predictability that you can achieve through standards and standards agreements, but then also the challenge of keeping pace and having that adaptive sort of regulatory framework. How are you thinking about that, and how do we strike the right balance there? And should we be aiming to have stronger global alignment across all standards and regulation?
Yeah. So as part of what AI Governance Alliance covers, we've been very careful in terms of using the phrase of a global coordinated approach as opposed to unified, because we do need to, when we analyze different governance frameworks around the globe, we do need to take into a lot of different factors into consideration. For example, culture, for example, legal, and societal, many other contexts as well. And as we all know that right now there's a lot of divergence in terms of how we regulate AI. Are we regulating the technology itself, or are we regulating the applications? The US and EU have quite different approach. China has a very different approach as well. But at the same time, many would agree that there needs to be some levels or some level of coordination and standardization. And we do believe the pursuit of standardized and consistent approaches to AI governance and regulation across jurisdictions and globally is imperative for addressing the challenges posed by AI. And there are some aspects that's particularly key. For example, the ethical, where we believe that many jurisdictions could achieve a consensus on are, for example, ethical frameworks governing AI development and deployment. For example, ensuring alignment with fundamental human rights principles. Standardization is crucial in determining accountability mechanisms and liability frameworks for AI systems to establish a clear understanding of responsibility in case of adverse outcomes. And additionally, consensus on transparency and explainability standards is essential to build trust and facilitate effective scrutiny of AI algorithms. And last but not least, harmonizing data protection and privacy regulations is also paramount to safeguard individuals' rights because AI does increasingly rely on vast data sets. And I guess then the final point is the international collaboration is essential for setting standards on issues like bias mitigation, cybersecurity, and the impact of AI on employment that we just alluded to.
Thanks. There's a fair bit in that as well. Now, I promised people I would give you the chance to ask questions in the room. If you want, there's a lot of questions coming through here, so I'm assuming you're all on the app. But if you've got a burning question, jump up now. If not, there's an obvious next question for Cathy. Obvious next question, Cathy, is can you comment on the importance of open source in AI?
Yes, that is the question these days, which is something we also covered in, we're going to publish 3 briefing paper as a result of the AI Governance Alliance in January, coinciding with the annual meeting. And the technical paper and the governance one indeed touch on the technical features of open and also closed source model, and how do we put guardrails in the design and deployment and development and deployment phases as well. And when it comes to governance, indeed, there's an ongoing debate between open versus closed source, and you won't be surprised that you will find the discussion here is twofolded, because we all understand that open source on one hand stimulate innovation, but on the other hand, there's potential risks for misuse, especially when it comes to some of the already obvious misuse we're seeing now with more and more powerful open source model being released into the wild. Obviously, that increases the chance of a higher misuse. But on the other hand, the closed model obviously on one hand concentrates power in the hands of just a few, and the opposite end of that is absolutely it's more secure. So it really depends on who you ask the question to, because enterprises are thinking about how they can leverage different kind of model in their daily operations. Countries and nations these days, I think we all know that not many jurisdictions or nations actually have access to the most powerful foundation model. So many would need to, in order not to be left behind, they would need to leverage open source model to enable equitable access. So I would say it's too early to say, and there's ongoing debate in terms of if we can put in any kind of technical threshold in terms of safety testing and monitoring in different executive orders and AI regulation. So again, we'll need to see where the technology evolves and how the governance evolves in the next months or so. But what we know for sure is that the field is developing so fast you won't need to wait for long until know some of the answers.
Well, we'll look forward to the paper as well. I've got a question from Nate, who's asking about essentially how we can better involve everyday people. And so, a lot of what we're doing, a lot of the initiatives around AI governance are largely being driven top down and don't have that sort of meaningful opportunity for everyday citizens to be sort of engaging in the conversation and expressing their concerns or their ambitions. How is the World Economic Forum thinking about that and approaching that and trying to make it a more inclusive conversation?
Yeah, that is an excellent question. So that is why, first of all, at the forum, we are a member and partner-based organization. We work with the large numbers of private sector partners and also large numbers of government, civil society, academia. But we also work with many other communities, for example, young global leaders, global shapers, who are the young people under 30 around the world, and many other communities, culture leaders, media leaders, etc. And with every single initiative that we run, we typically have a way to get in touch with the general public. For example, the AI Governance Alliance. If you go on the website, there's a way to send you your comments and ask to be included at the table. So that's indeed, Melinda, to your point, especially when it comes to not only AI regulation, any kind of technology regulation, because technology is so ubiquitous. What happens in one country can very easily affect another country, another jurisdiction. And sometimes it doesn't take that long for that effect to come through. And that's why everyone should have a say in terms of how the technology and its applications should be regulated. Therefore, we definitely welcome any comments that you will have. Anything we produce, publish are public knowledge. They're always shared on the website with no paywall or anything. So please do follow our work and send me any comments through the website. If you just type AI Governance Alliance, you'll find us at the top of Google search.
Great. There's perhaps a more specific question, which is, I think, increasingly on people's minds when it comes to technology and AI. And the question is, one, noting the important role of the Alliance for future governance. And I think when you think about having to coordinate rather than unify with fast-moving technology, then having important forums like the Alliance are critical. But the question is around the scope to include defensive analysis in your work to protect against bad actors. Is that something that's on the radar screen?
I wouldn't say that's part of our particular scope. I would call out the work we've been doing for, I would say, 5-6 years, as the foundation of a lot of the digital technologies work that we do at the forum, which is our Global Coalition for Digital Safety, which focuses on tackling harmful content online, which is an issue, a problem now exacerbated by more advanced technologies such as generative AI. And we do have another center, the Center for the Cybersecurity, that we work closely with, that focus on the security aspect of the internet and the digital technologies in general. So typically that's how we run this kind of work. But even through the technology track of the AI Governance Alliance, we also look at how do we put certain guardrails in the design phase. How do we develop more robust teaming practices across different private sector and model producers? So there's definitely an element to that. But at the same time, the forum, first and foremost, is a platform for public-private collaboration and not a standard setting or technology testing agency. But we do work with everyone and bring everyone to the table to share best practices. And I'm not sure if that addressed your question.
Well, I think I'll take that as having answered the question. I've got a question here from Rocky around, which I think sort of loops back to another dimension of inclusiveness. And I think there is a lot of focus on institutions like the World Economic Forum, and as we think about, leading into these big opportunities and challenges in the future, how we make sure that inclusivity is a part of the agenda. And the question that Rocky's asked is around the resource intensity of AI and technology more broadly to build, run and maintain, and how do we think about the potential gap that might emerge between different types of organisations who have access to certain resources or not, and also I think different countries. Is that something that occupies the forum's agenda?
That's absolutely on top of my mind, forum's mind these days. Because we are, on one hand, generative AI in particular, it's a technology that's so easy for anyone just to get their hands on. You don't need, special training. You don't need to know how to code. So to many, it is a great opportunity as a equalizer. But on the other hand, we're not even talking about global South countries. Many of the advanced economies don't have access to the most powerful model, except for US, China, and a couple of the countries in the Middle East. And that is a reality today. So we've been working on this and hoping that we could, call for more proposal from the international society on how do we tackle this. Because the real challenge is, on one hand, there's the access to the model, to compute, to data. Data is another issue because many of the language, being the low resource language, we are witnessing the challenge with the data availability. And that's compounded by a lot of the data localization regulation in many of the jurisdictions. And then another challenge, obviously, is talent. You will need to have, educated AI researcher to be able to access, the technology and be able to run many of the research that's needed. So that's on one hand the access to the model, and on the other hand, how do we actually leverage this powerful technology for many of the applications, linked to the sustainable development goals? So the challenge is definitely a twin challenge here. And then when it comes to access to the model and to the compute, the open source advocate will actually tell you that, let's forget about building the most powerful closed source model here. Let's actually leverage the open source model, which doesn't require as much compute, and let's really just focus on innovating from there. So there's many different schools of thought. Obviously, every option comes with different pros and cons as well. But the forum does acknowledge that this is the one thing, despite all of the debates that's out there, open or closed source, this is one thing that, that can unite everyone. Everyone wanted to make sure that the digital divide is not further widened in the coming years. So we are actively working on it, and we do look forward to any meaningful proposals that the international society can put forward to as well. Because to really get something like that up and running, I'm talking about something similar to the U.S. National AI Research Cloud, will require significant funding, compute, and many other resources.
So I've got a couple of minutes left, and I thought maybe we might try to finish on a really nice high note. You must be involved in some of the most fascinating and interesting conversations around what you can do with AI. And I'm wondering if there's something that you might want to talk to that you've seen or talked about that around how we can use AI to drive positive societal change, whether it's health or in terms of inequality or climate change. Any special little projects that you've got on your list?
Absolutely. We do look at many of the different applications, and we work with many of the leading startups in particular, and obviously the established industry players in terms of how we deploy AI meaningfully as well. In terms of climate change, the obvious use cases are AI can help to optimize resource allocation, enhance predictive modeling for natural disasters. We actually have a case of using AI to predict a wildfire in Europe, and that's been very successful and being replicated in many other countries as well, and also facilitate more efficient energy consumption. And we also see how AI plays a pivotal role in optimizing energy grids, improving energy efficiency, and advancing renewable energy technologies as well, which has been vital, particularly in the context of Europe with the energy crisis. In health, we are already seeing the AI-driven personalized medicine, telemedicine solutions, predictive analytics that can enhance healthcare accessibility and outcomes. And even in terms of tackling economic inequality, AI can contribute to a skill development through personalized learning platforms, promote inclusive financial services, and facilitate job matching instead of just purely impacting jobs from a negative lens as well. So yeah, many exciting initiatives and that we are witnessing, and that's also part of what the AI Governance Alliance will do to shed light on some of the most positive use cases, and hopefully that can be replicated around the world.
Yeah, well, that's a fantastic way to finish off for us. A bit of context for you. I think, Cathy, you won't be aware of this, but here in Australia, we're just having our first heat wave of our summer. And in one of our states facing very wicked conditions in terms of fire risk and things like that. So certainly that opportunity to be thinking about AI and for that matter, every technology that can help us in addressing climate change, but also in the climate change adaptation and risk mitigation is front and centre for us. So thank you so much for joining us, for your time and for your insights today. And we look forward to hopefully welcoming you back to the CEDA stage at some point, and maybe we can entice you to find your way down here. Thank you so much. Join me in thanking Cathy.
Absolutely. Thank you, Melinda. Thanks, everyone. Thank you for having me.
Now, before I jump off stage, and a nice segue from where we finished with Cathy, we are really keen to hear your big ideas and to collectively generate 100 AI ideas for Australia and beyond. Think big. Think about what we can really achieve and how AI can help us to collectively tackle the big challenges and to create the biggest opportunities in Australia. If you go to the Q&A section on your app, you can jot your ideas down. I think you can vote on other ideas as well. And we're looking forward at the end of the day to having a look at what's on that list, and we're going to be taking that list forward as well. So think big, fire away, be exciting and engaged. And it's my great pleasure to welcome, I'm going to call Stella my partner in crime today, invite Stella back onto stage. Thanks, Stella.
Thanks, Janelle.